Hi everyone, welcome to an special episode of Growth Hacks Experiences, Season 2. And today we have an amazing guest, a friend, a dear friend. We already know each other from quite already some time. And it's interesting to see how life reconnects, brings into synchronicity when we are in the search for something that in common, when we find the same energy level, I would say. The person that I'm going to introduce you is Susan Pulley. Susan, before I give you the voice, I just want to mention that Susan indeed is, aside what we're going to speak today, she's founded Atma Ayurveda here in Amsterdam. Susan, welcome to Growth Hacks Experiences. How are you today?
Thanks, Juan Carlos. I'm good. It's really nice to be here because actually it feels like a very natural extension to all of our conversations to be talking about these things. So
Exactly. And we just to give a little bit context to our public, to the viewers, we have been doing events also here in Amsterdam called Limitless Mindset. And Susan was the speaker on our first edition that was dedicated to stress, where we were talking about how to improve our life in unstressive situations, let's say, for example. And in this case, from the Ayurveda point of view. But before we go on that, Susan, could you tell us a little bit more about you, about Atma Ayurveda, for the people that are new completely?
sure. Yeah, well, let me start with Ayurveda if anybody's unfamiliar with that term. Ayurveda is a complete medical system. It's a traditional medical system that comes out of India. And we take all of those concepts around their pathophysiology. They have different words for it than conventional medicine does, but we take all of those concepts and we can apply them really to any human body anywhere in the world. So of course we're trying to use more local plants and so forth, but it's all holistic. It's no pharmaceuticals, and at least as it's practiced in India, it can be practiced as really a complete medical system. You can go there with any kind of illness, and the physicians there, my colleagues, can actually be treating you. Here in the West, it's a little bit limited and restricted, partially, for our educational standards, what our capacity is, partially for what we have available to us in terms of the plant medicine that we have available to us, and because the formulations are so robust in India, you'd be like pretty amazed. That's a whole new topic, but yeah. So that's a little bit about Ayurveda. You're gonna, when somebody comes to the office, to the clinic, they're getting a completely different angle sometimes than from their physician. I think that's all very often why people come. Maybe they've tried everything with their doctor and their doctor still doesn't know what's wrong with them, or even more importantly, like how to treat it. They might even have a diagnosis, but they're not getting any results with the treatment. So people often come for stress, for a lot of, Ayurvedas, we're very famous for our capacity to really handle and have impact around long-term digestive complaints and hormonal issues. That's my particular niche with women's reproductive hormones. And yeah, basically you can throw anything at us and we can find our way through how to translate that back from Ayurveda and produce a method, a very systemic approach to how to start backtracking and giving your body the ideal circumstances to come back into health, because your body has to do it in the end, right? There's nothing outside in that can really do it. Your body has to. So we've got to give the body the right circumstances, and that's our whole goal in Ayurveda. So it's very much a holistic approach. I came to Amsterdam, at least in 2008, and I got an invitation to teach for the Ayurveda school here. And that's the entire reason I became an expat and even a little bit entrepreneur when the government said, hey, start a clinic. I was like, that's your visa. So I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And it's really grown from there. And so that's kind of a little bit of very quick my background. And I'm sure there might be moments where I can tell some stories later.
Wonderful. So could you tell us a little more about as I believe it's the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system?
Yes. Oh, I love that topic. Okay, careful, because I can really nerd out about these.
No
So
worries.
if I lose you, let me know. So there's this amazing, I think that the thing that we feel every day, when people feel stress from day to day, and all of us are trying to ward off too high levels of stress because we don't feel good. We don't feel like we're living our best selves when we're under stress. This has everything to do with what you've just asked, Juan Carlos. Like the sympathetic nervous system is that excitable nervous system. It's the part of our nervous system that prepares for action. And that's really helpful with moderate stress, right?
Yeah.
Where we kind of need that. And even some people, don't know how to operate without that sympathetic nervous system really being active. The challenge is that when we have the sympathetic nervous system active, we are physiologically, we are ready for fight, flight, freeze, and our systems are heightened across the board. Heart rate, pupils dilated, everything is in high alert mode. That's not sustainable. And so if we experience that state, that sympathetic nervous system state being triggered constantly all day long for now small thing, we're not, I love this analogy, Robert. Sometimes I refer to Robert Sapolsky because he's this neuroendocrinologist, anthropologist. Like he really did this foundational book back in the 80s, I think it was 1994, 89 or something. And it was about, he references this concept of the zebras running away from the lions on the savannah. None of us are zebras running away from the lion. If you're listening to this podcast, you're not a zebra running away from the lion. Right? Like we all have our valid stressors for sure. But a lot of this is happening in our minds. And so the state of high, agitated, sympathetic nervous system always being on is not sustainable. We don't then go like the zebra does and like once the lion has stopped chasing us, shake like crazy, like literally shake it out of our system. We don't do that. So it just kind of piles up a little bit every day. And then we look back after 10 years on the verge of burnout or over the cliff of a burnout, having to have stopped our work, having no energy, not being able to concentrate, not being able to sleep. And we were like, where did I go wrong? I felt like I was doing everything okay. But we didn't see the warning signs along the way. And Ayurveda is really amazing about going, like alerting you to those warning signs. Now, the other thing that you asked about was the parasympathetic nervous system. Like, what's the difference between these two? The parasympathetic nervous system is not about action. The sympathetic was about action. The parasympathetic is about governing all those things that doesn't require an immediate response. It's kind of all the juice in life. In Ayurveda, we would literally use the same word for juice, rasa. And so you're thinking of the systems in the body that are calming, that create or induce a calm state, that create or induce good deep sleep, that induce digestion and allow for digestion, the mobility of digestion to move very freely so that we can eliminate completely, so that we're not holding on to toxins, so that we're getting all of the best nutrients for that good food that we're all trying to eat. So there's, how ragged is our breathing? Well, if it's smooth, then we're in parasympathetic mode. How well is our digestion moving through? That's dependent on being in enough time with parasympathetic mode. It will, digestion, as well as all reproductive things, will stop because they're not required. They will stop when you shift into sympathetic mode. And this is why we're having, chronic infertility issues, and our hormones are all crazy, and our digestion is, and our energies are low. There's everything kind of comes back to this interplay between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. And particularly at the center of all of this, where it all comes together, is the gut and the digestive organs.
Now, would it be indeed the sense that our immune system is our immune system, is it connected to both of the nervous systems, these two systems, or is only connected to the parasympathetic?
The immune system is deeply connected to, let's focus on the parasympathetic, because I think that's it's a little bit more featured in our conversation today in a way. The immune system, if we take a step back, the immune system is actually part of, let's say if we take a step back, the parasympathetic system, the umbrella of that in the nervous system, is called the autonomic nervous system. Again, it's all those things that happen without us having to do anything. We don't have to try to breathe. We don't have to try to make our heart rate, our heart pump, or try to make the liver and gallbladder secrete bile. We don't have to do those things, but there's a nervous system that's controlling all of that. And have you heard about the gut-brain axis?
I consider that today we have as a main meal of our conversation, indeed, the connection between the gut and the brain, because here's where I consider that it will be great to know today for our listeners about the Ayurveda digestive type and how we can actually identify it. Because I consider that, I know that as Ayurveda, there are so many directions that we can go. And I would love to share as much as possible today. And I consider that maybe we can start today, certainly with the Ayurveda digestive type. Okay. What do you consider about it?
With the Ayurveda digestive type, can we just talk 1 second about the gut-brain axis?
Please, let's do.
With the gut-brain axis, what in 2018, actually, I think the first study was around 2015. So we're talking like less than 10 years. Okay. Conventional science understood this. Ayurveda a lot longer. But what it discovered, if you look at the studies that came out, like by Martin and others in the 2018 study, I think it was Cellular and Molecular Gastroenterology, something or other, magazine, journal. This was quite a revolutionary moment for science to be exploring the concept between this mutual communication between the brain and the gut microbes, that the gut microbes are actually communicating to the central nervous system in 3 ways. They're communicating via the endocrine system, the hormones, the nervous system, which was what we were just talking about with the parasympathetic, and immune, signaling the immune system. And this is how we know from conventional modern science that there is this very strong connection between immunity and the gut and the nervous system. So just making all those connections that we were talking about earlier. Now, of course, it goes both ways. The brain also can influence the microbes. You can think about it like, this those networks of fungi that they've discovered that are how all the trees are conversing with each other. That's kind of like, I think that's how I imagine our gut bacteria to be communicating via our brain. Like they're just a mechanism for this communication. So now, where does Ayurveda fit into all this? Ayurveda actually has been saying, very plainly stating as fact, these connections between the gut and immunity and the nervous system since the oral traditions began, even that means even before the written traditions began. So we have written medical texts from about 3,000 years ago. So you can imagine a little further back with the oral traditions.
Yeah.
And so, when these studies came out, I'm like, well, yeah, the gut-brain axis, like it's obvious, no? But I didn't appreciate how revolutionary this was in conventional medicine and for the modern public to really understand that the food that they eat, but more importantly, how well you digest will affect how you think, what your mood is, how focused and clear you can show up for yourself in your work.
Yeah.
And really like how effective and happy you are. And that's what we all want. So there's this very strong connection that Ayurveda accepts, and now modern studies are backing 100%. Then with Ayurveda, we take it a step further and we say, what is going to affect the digestion? What's going to affect the ecology of the digestion? If you think about the digestive system as an ecosystem, because we are learning it is this multi-micro like living, breathing thing. And you need to kind of take care of the ecosystem within that. And what can make it challenging to have a healthy microbiome? And now we get to the Ayurvedic body types. So depending on your constitution, your digestive type, and your body type, these are fine nuances, but so depending on your constitution, that will really influence your inherent capacity to have strong digestion, to have good mobility in the smooth muscles of the gut, to be able to absorb nutrients and keep that gut microbiome healthy.
What is some are the things, for example, that we should, which are the basics that we should all understand about, for example, how much is connected to our energy or health, the stomach directly in terms of numbers, let's say, for example. I believe you told me once about the number of nerves connected to your stomach. How much was it?
It's up to 60% of our nervous system is connected to our gut. Yeah.
So for stress is really
in. Let it sink in. We all know somebody who, when they get stressed, they can't use the toilet. Or when their environment changes, like they might go on a holiday where they're otherwise relaxed, but their environment just changes and they won't use the toilet for a week. So you're losing all that elimination potential and detoxification potential every day. So indeed, the mind is a very powerful thing. And sometimes that can be such a huge contributing factor that it's something that we really need to make the number one focus when someone like myself is considering all the different types of advice that I could, like, there's a vast toolbox of advice give somebody who has a digestive complaint. If stress is up there, we have to address it in a way that is very approachable and achievable. to someone to start winding down that tightly wound coil, because that connection is so strong. Because if there is tension in the nervous system, that is communicated directly, because of that 60% going through the gut, of 60% of those nerves going through the gut, that is communicated pretty directly into our organs and those deep systems that do all of our detoxification, and that we shouldn't have to take any care for, but sometimes they start shouting a little bit because we haven't taken care. So like the digestive system, the hormone system, even, nowadays post-COVID, our pulmonary and, cardiovascular systems, we have to be a little bit more careful around. So to take good care and make sure that we know that is absolutely sharp in our minds, that connection between the stress, the mind, the power of the mind, and the gut. Ooh. And the power of digestion, and vice versa. I've seen very, very often that if someone comes in, let's say that maybe you're not like completely stopped constipated, but let's say that someone is not using the toilet every single day. Ideally, it's when you wake up in the morning, first thing, you open your eyes, after a few breaths, you're like, you should get an urge to use the toilet. That's a sign of great health. And when someone is skipping a day or 2 days, then it can be that we need to, make that correction. I lost my train of thought.
Nice. No, that's great to know, because then, all right, okay, that's good for me. Things are going well. I'm drinking, for example, tea, and indeed, one of the situations is that I personally see the effects that caffeine has on my body. Mm. So I tend to stop. I normally have like a window when I really like to drink coffee during the day, and I try to mentally be aware on that time. So normally after 2 p.m. I stop with coffee and I start with tea. But I love hydration as well at the same time. I think those two things are very important for me. And that came from, I do believe that it was also from understanding more and more about what kind of type I was. So in terms of types, how many types do we have indeed for people?
So if we're looking at digestive types, we can think about it in terms of 4. Very often in Ayurveda, you'll hear about body types, but I want to there's a lot of confusion around that. There's 3 main body types in Ayurveda.
Yeah.
I think it's worthwhile to give your audience a little extra insight.
Okay.
So in terms of digestive types, we can think about it in terms of 4. They're exactly the same 3 as the body types, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. But the 4th one is that the majority of people have what I call the Ama digestive type.
Okay.
So, there's a cute little quiz on my website that's, and I think actually we can give that as a bonus. Can we give
Let's do, indeed. Let's
give it as a free bonus for people who might join something soon. If you work your way through this quiz, what you'll find is that a lot of people have undigested food. We're all kind of walking around with undigested food these days. And this word ama, the 4th type, it simply means undigested food gunk. That's kind of sitting in your gut and hanging out, and those bad bacteria can build up around that and start to ferment it. So you're getting low energy and gas and bloating and like kind of, I wouldn't say a grumpy mood, but maybe low. Can be grumpy. Why not? Can be grumpy too. I'll take that back. But yeah, a low mood. It can be that you experience a low mood and that you might even feel a little grumpy. And we see that when the reason why I consider this a separate digestive type is that it's the first thing you need to work on reducing if you have this ama. Universally in Ayurveda, the rule and how you know whether you are going to a legit practitioner or not is one of the litmus tests is this person taking you through an ama reducing phase first? Have they assessed how much undigested food you have, and are they helping you reduce it before tackling anything else? Because we have to get the gunk out of the pipes before we can even put any new medicine in the pipes. Like the best food, the best herbs, the amazing remedies for your body type, that we have all of this at our hands. But unless we clean the pipes, we can't actually get that medicine into your system, whether it's food or spices or herbs. So always, and actually out there, the majority of people have undigested food that's come up a little bit in their system, that's gathered
through the years.
Made a little nest. Yeah, it really likes to be very stubborn and not go anywhere. So unless you do a little bit of intervention. So that's why I said that there's 4 digestive types. Someone can have straight up Vata type digestion where they don't have any of this undigested gunk and they have there's a lot of irregularity in their gut, in their bowel movements. The timing is irregular. The quality of the stool flips back and forth, but sometimes it's loose motion. A lot of times it's constipation for these folks because they have a lot more air element in their system, which can kind of dry them out. I'm trying to hit on these key words that I'm translating to Sanskrit as I go. Changeability, irregularity, dryness, the air element. Pitta digestive types, they tend to, again, we're looking at people who now they have already gone through the phase of like reducing their gut gunk. And now, if they don't have much gut gunk, and you can clearly see a Pitta digestive type when there is a little too quick of an inflammatory response. There's a little too quick of heat coming up in their system. Maybe some acid indigestion. Maybe if they eat food that has sharp or hot qualities to it, they'll have a reaction. They tend to react, and because of that, they tend to react to alcohol because that's sharp and hot. They tend to react to hot, spicy food or sometimes oily, spicy food. They can react to chili peppers or sour things, fermented things like vinegars. Some certain fruits that are really sharp, like kiwi fruits are a great example of super high acid fruit, or certain pineapples can be really high acid, and that can cause somebody to have a bit of a reaction. So the sort of high acid type, that's a Pitta digestive type. And then what do we do for these types? We look at what are the qualities of each of these and then try to do the opposite of those qualities. So then if we have the 4th type, the Kapha digestive type, that's a person who has where their metabolism and the movement through the gut tends to be a bit slower. It's steady. They can digest things, but it tends to be slow. So they might not have that exact on-time bowel movement every single day. It might be every other day, they might have where no matter how small of meals that they seem to be trying to eat, they seem to, their metabolism is still slow and they seem to be putting on weight despite doing all the right things. So kaphas can have this kind of slow, sluggish metabolism that translates into, things not moving quite as well through or quite as quickly through the digestive system. And otherwise, you don't see too much problem with kapha digestive types, except for the fact that you might just need to, as a practitioner, we're looking to excite the digestive type with some warming spices and some things that are opening the channels, opening the circulation so that the digestion moves a little bit quickly so that they continue the detox process on time. So, again, we're looking at then if there's any of these digestive types, all the advice is around doing the opposite for the most part. It's like looking at what's actually happening here. Is it hot and sharp that we're seeing? And can we use cooling and more bland or kind of dull? So I would consider in Ayurveda speak, a food like oatmeal would be a bit dull. Not because it's boring, but because it's soft and gentle and bland. And that
Correct.
would balance the sharpness. So those are some examples of what are the digestive types and how might we start to treat them.
Correct. Yeah, indeed. I consider that for example, everyone that is interested in understanding how having this information helps them to gain more energy, understand how their body works through the day, and indeed how they can even plan better their cycles for women, for men. And I consider that in this case, for example, as well, when it comes about traveling, when it comes to go to a different time zone, going to a different city, a different culture, you can also understand how these kind of foods affect your body as well. Now, a few points I would say, Susan, is that indeed it will be great for us to share. With this video, we're going to make sure that we share a link where they can take a test to understand what is their Ayurveda, the digestive type from Atma Ayurveda. And I also would like to invite you, Susan, because I would like to invite you to let's do this again. Let's do another episode as well, where I would love to talk about the subject that you just mentioned as well, about ama, if I understand, this gunk, and how that also affect all the other three states types.
Because right now people are absorbing all kinds of information from so many sources, which is an amazing experience. Like, it's very exciting, it's very stimulating, and then you get overwhelmed, don't you? All of that enthusiasm that you have to change your health in that moment now, which is very short because you are tired. Usually you're in a state of being very tired and unmotivated. So you have this amazing moment that opens up and you're motivated, and you disperse all that energy by searching around a lot of different things or trying things without a method forward about how to do that. Particularly people are doing things all at the same time. It is worthwhile getting actual professional advice and giving yourself 3 months to test it. And it sounds like I know that that's very triggering for some of us. Me too. Don't worry. I'm in that camp too. Like 3 months. That feels like, but I want to do try 10 different things in 3 months. And actually, really, yeah, guilty, right?
Yeah.
But your body, the biology of your body, needs the chance to respond and give you the feedback and give you the language of this is working and this is not working. And any method that you try, it deserves an exclusive experience. It deserves that you can actually give it your focus for a bit and really give it a trial whether this is working or this is not working. So I would say don't hesitate. Get out there and actually connect with people who have spent, like myself, who've actually spent the last 20 years of my life studying this, so that you don't have to go through all of those painful lessons learned in the last 20 years that I've had to go through.
That's wonderful, and I thank you for being with us here in Growth Hacks Experiences, sharing these indeed 20 years of experience that allows us to understand the importance and the changes that we can influence, that we can achieve in our body if we seek for help, if we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, ask for help from professionals, ask for help and understand what could be better for us, what options do we have out there. Now, with that message, I would love to invite everyone that is interested to know more about Ayurveda, that will be interested also to meet Susan. I will definitely will put her LinkedIn so you can follow her. And if I may ask Susan, what would be the best way for people to get in touch with you?
The best way to get in touch with me is to jump on my newsletter.
Okay.
Go to atma-ayurveda.com, because that's my inner circle.
There we go. We all are jumping then. Good, Susan. It has been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Now, for everyone, last reminder, we're going to leave the link of the Ayurveda Digestive Type, and get in touch with Susan. Send us your comments if you would like to have any question to me, to Susan, about the topics that we have discussed. We are going to make a follow-up episode where we are going to talk as well about fasting from the point of view, from Ayurveda, from the point of view of the health industry. We're going to tell some personal stories as well. And for the people that actually are also here in Amsterdam, let us know, because we are also here with Limitless Mindset, working on very interesting topics about health and well-being. Now, with that, I thank you everyone for being here. Please subscribe to the button. If you would like to know more about us, leave us a comment. It's always good to share the love. Thank you very much. I wish everyone a wonderful day. Susan,
thanks.
have a wonderful